Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update brought to my home office on this Friday, the 10th of May. And we'll start with Hang Seng today. There will be no single stocks. We'll start with Hang Seng today in a strong bullish move the past couple of weeks, breaking several resistance levels, and also this morning 18,844 seems to be pushing towards the 20,000 level. There's no divergence on the RSI, both daily and weekly, so it seems fairly likely that we will move up to that. Do be aware of corrections though. It is not unlikely we will see some corrections, but it seems in a very strong bullish move. Moving on to the US markets and S&P 500. Let's zoom in a little bit here. What occurred last night was that the RSI actually did close above 60 threshold, meaning we are now in a positive sentiment, confirming this uptrend that is likely to test its previous all-time high of 5,264.65 and a possible move up to around 5,400 at the 138.2 projection of this correction here. Nasdaq 100 hasn't really confirmed its uptrend. It is still below the 60 threshold down here, so look out for that. And it was fairly muted response on the Nasdaq yesterday. Still below the cloud, so struggling a little bit. Also at this 78.6 retracement here at 18,145. But I think we will see a break maybe today or early next week, especially if S&P is following or pushing it higher, so to speak. EUROSTOXX 50, moving on to Europe markets, also in a bullish mode. It actually broke a bullish, but never was in a bearish sentiment, but we did have a correction. But after the close higher Thursday, it actually confirmed the bullish trend with the potential, as we talked about. You see these arrows I drew a couple of days ago, potential up to around 5,200 on EUROSTOXX 50. DAX also very strong move here the past few days, and I tried to project it a little bit. How high can we move? We are actually in a new all-time highs, 18,900, 19,000 in the sight. And there's no divergence on the RSI. Well, there's a little bit building up here now. Sorry about that. You can see the values here is a little bit lower than over here. But strong bullish move, likely to test 19,000, I would say. Amsterdam, that has been more or less front running the markets. We have now reached 908, as we talked about the past week or so that it could. Still a strong bullish move. There is divergence on the RSI, but it's not unlikely we'll see a push up to 917, maybe 920. But be aware that we could see some corrections here after this strong bullish move. CAC 40 also pushed higher, very close to its all-time high, 18,253 and a change. Seems to be some strong resistance. No divergence on the RSI. But we are also in a strong positive sentiment here, and I think we will take it out in a few days, probably early next week. But expect a little bit of a setback at current levels. Finally, Swiss market has really turned the tide with a move on the 7th, especially. That move really took it back into the cloud. And yesterday's move also above the resistance, and now we are above the cloud and we are back in bullish sentiment. So I do think we will see a push towards 12,000 on the Swiss market. Moving on to FX, starting with euro dollar. Bounced off this 38.2 retracement here, just around 107 and a quarter. And just below the 200 and the 55 moving average. The key question, will it take out this 108.13? And really the key is, can RSI close back above 60 threshold? If it does, then expect a further upside potential. Otherwise, I think we will see euro dollar drifting lower again. Cable, if it will update, there we are. Also same picture, bounced after spiking just below the minor support here at 124.66. but got a little bit of resistance from the 200 moving average. We also have the 55 coming down, we have the 100 coming down. So there is some overhead resistance for cable here. Also still we are in a negative sentiment RSI really needs to break above and close above these levels around 126.5 to get any meaningful further upside potential. Otherwise it's still a little bit under pressure, and especially if it takes out 124.66 again, I think it would be hit by a sell-off. Yen pairs, they've been fairly strong across the board in the upside direction with weaker yen. We have dollar yen almost reaching half of the retracement and the correction here. Still potential up to 157. Actually, there's potential up to 158 and a half. There's no divergence on the RSI, and if we see RSI breaking back above 60, I think it will accelerate the move. There's still a risk of some setbacks here, so be aware of that. Keep your stops tight. It's still in a high political and a high risk trades. Euro yen also reads half of the correction there. RSI currently back above 60, confirming the bullish move that should take it back to 170 with a new higher close. But of course be a little bit of resistance here at 168.75, but there is potential up to 170. Also yen has already reached its 61.8 projection at 103 and a change. No divergence on the RSI, still bullish, so we could see a move up to around 104, and then it's going to be interesting what will happen there. Will we then have a setback or not? So really strong move the past few days in the also yen. Sterling yen struggling a little bit, lagging the others, just reached the 61.8, the 38.2 retracement here at just around the 195, but it is in a positive move. With a push higher towards 197, it's likely, possibly even higher. Moving on to Aussie dollar, well, it bounced a little bit, still above the cloud here, and we are in a positive sentiment, so we could see another push towards the 66.45.50 resistance area here. We are in a bullish trend, so let's see here the next couple of days if we can get back below 65.50 and below the cloud. Well, then the tide is turned, and expect further selling. But at the moment we could knock a little bit on the resistance up there. Dollar Canada seems it can't really make its mind up. Maybe it's drawing this kind of flag correction phase here that can last a few days more before breaking out. We are still in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence on the RSI. It is telling me we should push higher, but it is struggling a little bit. Key support at 136.18. Moving on to dollar Swiss, not really much to report there. Still $90. The 90 level is key support, and hovering around this rising trend line here. I think we could still see a test of the support area, but as you can see, also moving average coming up and the cloud also, so I think we'll move higher in the coming weeks. Finally, on the dollar index, lost momentum obviously, testing the lower rising trend line again. We still have key strong support at 104.84. If it can take out yesterday's peak, well, then we are pushing towards 106.5, 107. But this level here is key. Precious metals on the move, well, all metals basically, but precious metals on the move here. Gold broken above a 23.53 resistance, is currently at the 61.8 retracement of this correction phase here. And we are in a positive trend now. We are in a positive sentiment, or back in positive sentiment, despite having some divergence here. We are back above 60. There's potential now up to the 2400. If it takes out the 786, well, then we are looking towards 2450, possibly 2500. We can remove this one, it's obsolete now. I would say that we need a close below, and let me just put it there, below 2300, then the downtrend has resumed. But for now, it really looks fairly strong uptrend indeed, despite the divergence on the RSI. Silver was the first mover with a strong move yesterday in late session and also overnight, pushing higher back above the 60 threshold. So we are in a strong bullish trend. Potential up to 30, maybe even 31. The 138.2 projection at 31 and a quarter. Really strong move at the moment. Back below 27, then we are back in a bearish trend again. Copper taking out its previous peak. It has now, and let's just switch to the weekly chart. You can see here it has now potential up to 490, 493, 500. These peaks here back in 2022. So really strong moves there. Moving on to the energy market, we have seen WTI closing above the rising trend line on several occasions now, bouncing a little bit, and I think we could see a bounce further in the coming days. I will add a little bit of a Fibonacci retracement to this sell-off here and see, okay, what we have. We are currently at the 38.2. I think we can soon move up to around 81.60, 81.70, where we have the 61.8 retracement and we have the 55 moving average coming down, or giving a kind of a resistance there. So I think we'll see a rebound. Also here on the Brent crude oil, bounced, just spiked almost to the support at 81.42. It is not that 100% that's the one, but you can see these are the spike downs we also saw here, where market kind of had this correction phase. That's where we are now. I wouldn't be surprised if we move back above the 84.75 and back above the rising trend line, but let's see that the 200 moving average is still also giving some resistance, but I believe we could move higher. Also, if we add the Fibonacci to that one, well, 61.8 is at 86.74. Finally, on the treasury yields, hovering around this rising trend line, could still see a dip down to 440, maybe even 435, around that level in a corrective phase. Still positive sentiment, hasn't broken below 40. If it does, well, then there is further downside potential. If we just quickly look at the future, the actual trade, it is still the 109.8.5. That is the key resistance area here for the US Treasury future. All right, that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening. Have a nice weekend and happy trading.